Over 100 million men and women suffer from hair loss in America today. They all want to believe there's a secret cure to regrow their hair. And they will spend $1 billion trying to find an effective hair loss remedy while falling victim to misleading advertising like this, endorsed by paid, well-known celebrities which promoted Global Vision products Avacor.
You're losing your hair, and you haven't ordered Avacor yet? Hi, I'm Derek Cope, race car driver and TV analyst. To do your best, you need to look and feel your best. When I started noticing my hair thinning, I decided to take action. I explored various options, and I found the Avacor system. The experts at Avacor told me that hair loss is caused by a body chemical called DHT that stops your hair from growing. Avacor has an all-natural DHT blocker, and its topical physician's formulation starts your hair growing again. It worked for me. It's about confidence and the desire to win. Avacor does that.
Join the tens of thousands of satisfied Avacor users who have reversed their hair loss. It's guaranteed. Call 800-767-1887. Now you can use Avacor risk-free for 1 full year. It's guaranteed. Call 800-767-1887. That's 800-767-1887.
These ads made false claims of tens of thousands of satisfied users, reversing hair loss, all natural, and adding the magic word guaranteed and risk-free. And were simultaneously broadcast with TV commercials with what seemed to be a real-life medical doctor like Dr. David Gordon.
Is that bald spot getting bigger? Here's Dr. Gordon of the Hair and Skin Treatment Center with some exciting news.
Medical studies and the FDA have reported the body chemical dihydrotestosterone, commonly known as DHT, as the leading cause of hair loss. At our center, we've developed Avacor, a natural herbal treatment that stops DHT from attacking your hair follicles and starts regrowing hair in balding areas. Avacor's DHT blocker is all natural, safe, and effective. In 6 years of clinical use by tens of thousands of men and women, Avacor regrew hair on virtually everyone. We guarantee it. Stop DHT from ruining your life.
Now you can use Avacor risk-free for 3 full months. We're confident it's going to work for you.
The Insider Exclusive exposes this huge fraud and how Dr. Gordon and a team of snake oil con men ripped off hundreds of thousands of consumers to the tune of $168 million by using bogus advertising tactics as well as unproven test results and even phony hair loss experts to convince thousands of victims that some of their products can guarantee a 90% hair regrowth rate. We will also introduce you to the tenacious and relentless team of lawyers, Scott Burser and Tim Fisher, partners at Burser and Fisher, and Chris Marlboro, partner at Faruqi and Faruqi, who successfully represented a class of hundreds of thousands of Global Vision's fraud victims and won 2 of the biggest jury verdicts in California and the nation's history, earning them the highest respect from consumers and lawyers alike as one of the best plaintiff trial lawyers in the nation. They have seen many innocent, hardworking people defrauded and swindled, and because of that, they are driven to help people who have been harmed by the negligent actions of others. Their goal, not only to get justice for the Global Vision victims, but to make sure all consumers are protected equally under the law. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Walnut Creek, California, at the law firm of Burser and Fisher and Faruqi and Faruqi. It is my great privilege to introduce Scott Burser and Tim Fisher to the show. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, Steve. It's good to be here.
The case that we're going to talk about today is concerning a product called Avacor. And tell us a little bit about the scheme that was involved here.
Well, Steve, the Avacor product was a dietary supplement. There was a marketing campaign where the company spent more than $25 million on advertisements. and they said that this product would regrow hair in balding areas. So it was a hair regrowth product. The advertisement said that the product was developed at a clinic by medical doctors. Our investigation showed there was no clinic, there were no medical doctors. The advertisement said that the product was all natural and herbal. Our investigation, we determined that the product actually contained a drug, the drug minoxidil. The commercials for the product said that it had been FDA approved. Our investigation, we discovered that the FDA had actually sent a warning letter to the company telling them that their product was illegal and they needed to get it off the market.
There are other hucksters out there that say their products have been FDA approved, correct? Because maybe one ingredient of the product might be FDA approved, right? Not the product itself.
That's correct.
And that's what these guys did, right?
That's what these guys did. They also claimed that this product had a 90% success rate, which was an extraordinary claim in light of many of the mainstream hair regrowth products have a much lower success rate in their ads.
Later on in the show, we're going to bring on some of the, I like to call them victims, people who bought this based on this $25 million TV and print campaign blitz, advertising blitz out there. These people had tried other products like Rogaine. These are brand names. And when you look at hair regrowth products, are there really any that grow your hair to some extent?
Well, the Rogaine product is a great example. I mean, Rogaine is a drug that was approved by the FDA.
Yeah.
Pfizer spent hundreds of millions of dollars on clinical trials to show that Rogaine...
They really did what they said they were.
Right, to show that this was an effective treatment for hair regrowth.
Yeah.
And they convinced the FDA, and the FDA said, yes, this is approved, and you can sell it, Pfizer. And Rogaine, you know, works, but it works maybe 20 to 30% of people. That's what the clinical data show.
Right.
The fellows that were selling Avacor, they claimed that their product, not only was it all natural, safe and effective, and FDA approved, but they claimed that it was effective in 90% of people who used it.
Yeah.
So these fellows said that they had a natural product that didn't include any drugs, that was 4 or 5 times more effective than Rogaine.
So they took basically this cast of con men, took what appeared to be a FDA approved product, and they multiplied the effectiveness of it, lied about whether they did any clinical studies, etc. Let's talk a little bit about this rogue cast of characters. First up on the deck is the doctor that we've seen already, the commercial doctor, David Gordon. Is he really a doctor?
He was a doctor,
Yeah.
but he wasn't a dermatologist. He was a radiologist, meaning he looked at x-rays.
Yeah.
He'd also been stripped of his medical license in the years prior to the Avacor advertising for Medicaid fraud.
And he had served time in jail.
He had
for that.
spent time in jail. Just prior to doing the ads for Avacor, he had been selling cars. So to have him on the ads was really an extraordinary thing for them to do.
Right, and as you talk about him, we're showing some of the characters on the screen. Anthony Imbriolo. Is that the way you say his name?
Imbriolo.
Imbriolo.
Yeah, Mr. Imbriolo was the inventor, if you will, of the Avacor product. And as we said during the trial, this was not his first hair regrowth product. Mr. Imbriolo has been in the hair regrowth business since the 1970s. And he's had one product after another that have basically been different versions of minoxidil as a disguised ingredient, or minoxidil with some extra ingredients that he adds to them. And the interesting thing about Mr. Imbriolo is he is not a medical doctor. He has never been to medical school. He has never studied chemistry, never studied dermatology. I don't believe he graduated from high school, although he may have a high school.
He's a con man. He's a con man.
For 20 to 30 years, all this guy did was sell phony hair regrowth products.
Yeah, and I read in 1989 he first came out with this a similar product, making false claims, and I think Upjohn sued him, didn't he? Upjohn got a $4 million verdict against him, didn't they?
That's correct, they did.
And he kept going back to the same trough. Now, there were a couple of other characters, prominent ones, the financier.
Robert DeBenedictis.
Yes.
He's the one who brought the money to the operation, and that was a key component to it, because buying time on television networks to run your ads It was a fundamental part of the scheme. If they had not run those ads, they wouldn't have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in sales of this product.
And then you had a straw man who was Dr. Henry Edelson, correct?
Bob DeBenedictis put up the money, gave them office space in his building, gave them money to run the ads. Imbriolo brought the technology, if you will, this product, his idea, and his marketing know-how. But they couldn't have Imbriolo, as an owner of the company, because then Upjohn would come and try to enforce their judgment against it.
Yeah.
So what they did was they had Henry Edelson, who was another doctor who was not actively practicing medicine, but was instead involved in this venture. What they did was they had him hold Imbriolo's share of the company, and to the outside world it appeared as though Edelson and DeBenedictis and some of the other smaller partners owned the company, and Imbriolo did not.
Right. You got two verdicts, $50 million and $37, which was, I think, increased to $40 million, right? Tell us your legal strategy of how you did this.
Well, the legal strategy was to put the advertisements in front of the jury and to point out each of the misrepresentations to them so that they knew exactly what had been done wrong. And then we asked them to give the money back to the people who had bought this product. And that's exactly what the jury did.
You represented 150,000 claimants, victims. And today we have with us the lead plaintiff, Jim Thomas, and we're going to bring him on right now so he can tell his experience in this. It's my great pleasure to introduce Jim Thomas to the show. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you.
You were the lead plaintiff. In other words, your name was used when they sued Avacor, right?
Correct, yeah.
What was it like being a lead plaintiff? I mean, you had to be involved with this much more so than people who are not, right?
Correct, yeah. It was interesting just to see. I had a little bit more respect for the entire class action process to see how much is actually involved behind the scenes and the amount of paperwork that needs to be reviewed and everything.
Tell us a little bit about what is involved, from the layman's point of view. What did you have to do?
Well, I initially found out about the lawsuit going on, and I had contacted one of the firms, and then I was referred to Scott's firm and had the complaints and to review. The process was already in place, so I came in a little bit after the show had started.
Yeah.
And then had to review the complaint and change just a couple of things and just fine tune it.
How much money did you lose in this Avacor scam?
Yeah, my initial investment was around $400.
$400. There's a lot of people who will lose, lost $400, $300, $200 maybe, and just forget about it. They don't do anything about it. What made you get mad enough to get involved with this class action?
Yeah, I was lied to. The actual product itself was always promoted as an all-natural, herbal-based, and then I found out there was just a repackaging of Rogaine, of minoxidil.
And you were mad? You tried to get a refund, didn't you?
Correct, yeah.
And what happened when you
Once
tried
I found out that I had been lied to, I had contacted the original company. I had asked them for a refund, and they just said, no, sorry, you're outside of your period. And I explained to them, I said, I just found out about this new information, that I was actually lied to, that I was duped.
Yeah.
Could they make an exception one time?
Yeah.
And they just told me no.
Scott, in cases like this, when a lead plaintiff spends a lot of time, sometimes there's incentive awards that the court awards these people for their involvement coming forward, etc. In this case, there was such an award, wasn't there?
Yeah, Steve. The courts have discretion in many states, and California is one of them, to recognize the contribution that the named plaintiff has made in terms of getting a good result for the class.
Yeah.
And Jim made a tremendous contribution in this case, and we got a fantastic result. And Jim did get an incentive award.
Yeah, it was actually nice because when I first came into the case, no promises or guarantees were made.
Yeah.
Was about getting the bad guy. But after everything was said and done, I was actually received $25,000 for my contribution. So I was very, very surprised and very pleased with that.
Now we're going to bring on another Avacor user. He's also a professional hairstylist. Let's do that right now. It's my great pleasure to introduce Butch Watson to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're an Avacor user. You were, right?
Absolutely.
As as us guys talking here, what made you decide to buy Avacor to begin with?
Well, that was a moment of decision when a late night television, I'm flipping through the channels. We Can Grow Hair, it's a new product, herbal, natural.
Yeah.
So I decided to try their starter pack.
Mm-hmm.
And
the words guaranteed helps you too, didn't it?
oh, it
Risk-free, 800 number, right?
there you go. There you go. That's. I said, well, what could I lose? Huh? And then when I got it, I noticed that it was not natural.
Right.
All natural or so forth.
And you're a hairstylist.
And I'm a hairstylist.
Right.
And
So you read the ingredients on these things.
that's the first thing I did.
Yeah.
Minoxidil, Rogaine, and stuff like that.
Right.
It doesn't grow hair. It stops maybe some loss of it, but as soon as you stop using the product,
Right.
all your hair falls out again.
So what did you do immediately?
Called them, told them that I didn't want to use it because it had minoxidil in it and so forth.
And what was their response?
Well, we'll give you
More of it.
more of it so you can try it longer and see if or use it,
Yeah.
and we'll give you a special price.
Yeah.
So I called them back, said I want to return it. Okay, you return it. So I put them both packages together, wrapped them up together in a big box and sent them back UPS. And all of a sudden, I heard nothing. I heard nothing. I heard nothing. And they'll
You
give
got
you a
the
call.
runaround.
Got the runaround.
Yeah.
Got the runaround. And then after a while, I said, well, forget this. I went to the Attorney General in California.
What'd you do, write them a letter?
I wrote them a letter. I wrote a letter to
Did they
the...
respond to you?
They did after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, government doesn't act that quick. I
Yeah.
wrote a letter to the Attorney General in New York. And after a while, they responded.
Yeah, one of the things I hear both of you saying is that you mentioned all natural. That was important to you, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You didn't want drugs, did you?
Didn't want no drugs.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, there's other drugs available on the market for
And they don't work,
a quarter
right?
of the price of what this
Right.
was. This was supposed to be some revolutionary product, and it's
Right.
And
that's what we all have to watch out for. I mean, remember Dr. David Gordon? He looked like a doctor, didn't he?
Sure.
He was
Yeah,
wearing a
he had
white
his
coat,
code,
right?
They had his name on it. He was
Right. And they had those magic words, all natural,
All natural.
revolutionary.
New.
Because we all want to believe that there's something that can help regrow hair, right?
Right.
I want to thank you both for being on the program, taking the time to be on, to send a message out that sometimes there are no guarantees, right?
There's sometimes no guarantee.
All right. Thank you very much. It is my great pleasure to introduce Chris Marlboro, another attorney that worked on this case. He is with the law firm of Faruqi and Faruqi. Welcome to the show,
Thanks,
Chris.
Steve.
Tell us, our audience, what consumers should look out for with cases like Avacor, hair products, beauty products. What are the warning signs you should stay away from?
Steve, Avacor is a great example because they pretty much tried every warning sign in the book.
Yeah.
So one of those was, they made a claim that the product was scientifically proven and they had clinical studies to support them. And in fact, in the case we found that the clinical study was a fraud. And ultimately, we had an esteemed doctor who conducts massive clinical studies on a nationwide scale, who looked at the data behind their phony clinical study and found that the test never could have even been done based on the information that they had found.
There never was a test done.
There never was a test at all.
Okay.
That's going to be very hard for a consumer to be sophisticated enough to figure that out.
You often hear of clinical studies. Now, even pharmaceutical companies conduct clinical studies overseas, unregulated. You never know what that means. To me, that's a warning signal. What does that mean?
Well,
clinical
Steve, I think, clinical studies is a way to try to suggest the imprimatur of a legitimate drug company like a Pfizer or an Upjohn, which is required to do clinical studies to get FDA approval for their products. And when you have some of these dietary supplement makers who are not really in the business of doing real research, coming out with products that are not evaluated by the FDA, they use a clinical studies type of a claim in order to confer the aura of legitimacy on their on their product. But I think to your question of what should consumers look out for, in the hair field, it's very simple. There are only 2 FDA-approved hair regrowth treatments, Rogaine and Propecia. And if it's not one of those 2 things, it's probably phony.
It seems to me that the dietary supplement field is ripe for fraud, isn't it?
It is, because the people who manufacture this know that people come in with certain expectations, and they know all the same buzzwords to use to trick people into buying some of these products.
In this particular case, were any of the principals prosecuted criminally?
There were no actual criminal prosecutions for the people involved in Avacor. Mr. Imbriolo was jailed for civil contempt for trying to hide some of the assets. A federal judge in New York actually put him in jail for a couple months until he was willing to answer some questions about where some of the assets had disappeared to. And of course, Dr. Gordon, who we've seen in the commercial, he also did jail time, but unrelated to the Avacor scam. That was from his prior.
I want to thank you very much for being on the program, Chris. You've added a lot to this show. And we're going to bring back your partner so that we can wrap up this show. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve. It was my pleasure.
You're welcome. Tim, Scott, great victory. You guys are considered relentless. You went after these bad guys, got great verdicts. Then also you made sure you got paid or are in the process of getting paid. When a consumer feels that they've been ripped off, what should they do?
I think calling a lawyer is a very good thing for them to do.
Even if it's for $30 or $60, it's the principle, isn't it?
It is the principle. And a class action is a great vehicle for a consumer to get relief and to find a way to get right or wrong. And it's really a way for David to slay Goliath. And I think class actions throughout history, not just the Avacor case, but many class actions have shown that the little guy can prevail over a big corporation.
The changes to the consumer are significant, aren't they?
Well, I think when someone's thinking about getting involved in a class action, they're not only seeking to right a wrong that happened to them and to a lot of other people, but they're also playing an important role in terms of regulating the marketplace. I mean, we can't have a good, fair, efficient marketplace in the United States if there's rampant fraud going on.
Well, in today's market, with all of the TV media and the internet media, these snake oil salesmen can really reach a vast audience and rip people off. And if it wasn't for you guys putting a stop to them and putting them out of business, you know, little guy would be out of loss. He would be definitely at a loss. So I want to thank you very much for being on the program, and we'll have you back again. Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.